spill the theories, hit us spill some theories. Are you ready for yet another theory spill? I sure am. Quick reminder that this video contains spoilers. If you haven't played any of the Little Nightmares games, I suggest you look away. You have been warned. Also, these gameplays aren't mine. All rightful owners have been linked down below. Alright, hope you enjoy the video. A long-awaited video, I must say. I was so glad to read your comments on some of my videos to see how much the passion for this game has now disappeared. Here we are again discussing one of our favorite games. Today's theory is focused on the mobile Little Nightmares games, Very Little Nightmares. Before getting into it all, let's remind ourselves what the main plot of this game is all about. It all starts with a little girl dressed with a yellow raincoat entering a room seemingly fleeing from something. Now, we don't know who or what this thing is, so we are already off to a mysterious start. To any newcomer, this little girl would obviously be Six, the main character of both other Little Nightmares games. But, as we see from the ending, this girl was never in reality Six and was in fact an entirely different character. The whole game takes place at a new location called The Nest, a very tall and skinny mountain with some sort of mansion. The inhabitants of this mansion are odd to say the least. We firstly have the craftsman, who I like to associate with the janitor due to their eerie similar long arms. Next up, we have the butler, an important piece of today's theory. And, of course, the main lady of the house, the pretender, a toddler-looking entity who is known to play around with dolls and acts like a brat around the house and takes the role of this game's main enemy. Now that we got the main story settled, there are very big questions in this game. Of course, in order to really understand everything I will mention in this theory spill, please make sure you have at least played or watched the gameplay of this game in order to follow correctly. The pretender, or the lady of this Little Nightmares game, where did she come from? She seems to be a child of around 4 to maybe maximum 9 or 10 years old. Who are her parents? Does she even have parents? Or is she even a kid? And maybe even, is she even human? These are questions we get no easy answer to, but they are what we'll be focusing on today. Firstly, human or not, there needs to be some kind of parent or, in quotation marks, maker. So what would her parents be, or who would her parents be? Luckily, we get a slight glimpse of her possible guardians. Near the end of the game, we enter a room with lots of paintings, one of those paintings containing the pretender and 2 other unknown individuals. We could only speculate here, but the resemblances are overwhelming. Let's start with who I assume to be her mother, or motherly figure. She's wearing a very familiar looking dress and shoes, and I'm positive you can all put your finger on it. She seems to be, in fact, the teacher from Little Nightmares 2. Like I said, the resemblances here are too obvious. Of course, we don't know 100% that they are related, but this is definitely the most plausible for me. Next up, who I assume to be her father, is wearing, I think, a suit or some type of formal attire. I have picked out 2 possibilities for his possible identity. From other theories I have seen and analyzed, lots seem to believe he is the Hanging Man from the first Little Nightmares game. It's a very possible theory since the clothing match perfectly, and there is also a painting of the Hanging Man very close to the family portrait. Not entirely sure how both the teacher and the Hanging Man could have met, but it was possibly on the mainland where the teacher's school is. But there is also another possibility, and this possibility is lurking very close to the pretender. Some of you probably have already guessed who I'm talking about, and of course, it is the butler. This theory is, for me, the most interesting and also the saddest. The butler is a villain in the Little Nightmares story, but he seems to be there against his will, unlike a lot of other antagonists we have seen. Looking at the butler's posture, mannerisms, and his overall physical appearance, he seems uncomfortable, sad, and fake. His face is drawn with a very wide but fake smile, and his hands are bound behind his back and kept there by a lock. The clothing worn by him are also very similar to the ones worn by the gentleman on the painting. The butler seems to be the servant of the house and also his daughter's servant. the Pretender. Following this, I would like to focus on the butler for some time. It is no secret that he possesses telekinetic powers since he is seen floating around doing chores and levitating things with his mind. This is interesting because there is one other character I can think of who has the same kind of abilities, and that is, of course, the lady. The reason I believe something deeper is going on here is because since the lady is supposed to be the head and the leader of the Maw, she has got the strongest powers in order to assume her role and make others bow to her and listen. The butler clearly has a very powerful ability, but so does the Pretender. It is because of this, I think, his hands were tied behind him, since he used to have the same powers as the lady, powers that are stronger than the Pretender's. Maybe the butler used to be the head of the nest. This explains the gnomes we see, since we know now that the lady can turn children into gnomes. Logically, the butler probably can do that too. It's very intriguing, really. The butler is a very low-key character, one I didn't really pay attention to, but this theory makes him and his story much more scary, but also sad and interesting. Another thing that we haven't really visited is the relationship between the butler and the teacher, two characters we never see interact since they are seen in different games. The clear link between the two could be, well, the children. We know from how the girl in the yellow raincoat gets to the nest that children arrive there by hot air balloon. All the children sent over there could be the children from the teacher's school, which is now overrun by porcelain children. The girl in the yellow raincoat could have come from that same school, since she also arrived via hot air balloon. But at what point did the butler get overthrown and taken over by his own daughter? There are signs that could lead us to a possible answer, but that's for another video. Lastly, I would like to address the character of the Pretender itself. Her physical appearance isn't that extravagant when compared to other LN characters. She's quite a short person with a big white ponytail, white bangs, a green dress, smuggled lipstick on her face, and pink blush on her cheeks, most likely to show her nature of pretending. She's the leader of the nest and gets everyone to bow down to her. Unlike other main antagonists, she's clearly violent. Both the lady and the thin man have calm demeanors. She, on the other hand, screams and yells at her toys. Her voice seems to be glitchy or echoey, heard in this following clip. No actual words are spoken either, just some little grunts. Other than that, we can clearly hear her screaming. Her scream stunned the player and caused occasional glitches. The screaming just shows her childlike nature, since children under a certain age don't speak clear words or just don't speak at all. They express themselves by either screaming, crying, or other small noises. Many have expressed that they do not believe she is a child. On one hand, from what I can tell, this thought is triggered because of her name, the Pretender. Some think she is pretending to be a child, probably to attract nearby children, depicting herself as one of them so they aren't scared. She then succeeds in transforming them into the very dolls she dominates. Near the end of the game, we get a close look at all her victims. Hundreds of portraits of innocent children are shown on the wall, with her portrait being the biggest of them all in the middle. On another hand, some believe she is not a child and is pretending to be another version of the lady, a power-hungry individual who aspires to take that role in the nest. Going deeper, some believe she is not even human. Now, of course, we can't tell for sure if any of the characters from these games are human, but most of them show the common functions of any human, and don't give any proof to not being one. But when it comes to the Pretender, I get this weird feeling that she is something else. I'm not too sure what gives me this vibe, but it's clearly there, and I'm sure I am not the only one. Maybe the fact that she was literally crawling after 6 down rocks. That's a bit weird if you ask me. and her surviving a boulder to the head? There's just no way. Well, folks, we are finished with this theory. I sometimes forget how good the mobile Little Nightmares game is. The story truly hides lots of secrets and possible theories. So, what do you think? Once again, this is purely based on what I believe and what I research. You always have room to decide what you believe is true and what isn't. If you enjoyed, please like and subscribe and comment on some of your theories. Take care, and I will see you guys soon for more theory spills.